Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in today's podcast, we're going to be reviewing the two big games which took place on the weekend. Lots happening at the top of the table. Liverpool drawing 1-1 with Man City, and the shock results, Spurs running away 4-0 winners over Aston Villa. Now, joining me this evening on the podcast, we have returning Christophe.
Good to be back, viewers.
Yes, indeed, Christophe. Welcome back to the podcast and much to discuss in terms of these two matches. Big results, big implications, especially at the top of the table. But let's start by looking at that Spurs result, Christophe. Spurs now beating Aston Villa and really looking the favourites for finishing in the top four currently, having a game in hand as well. How did you see that one?
I'm not sure the result definitely guarantees them a spot in the top four, especially given that Tottenham is very likely to be a title deciding team at the moment, given that they will be facing Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal all back to back. So I'm not
Oh,
sure.
yeah, I guess they will definitely have a lot to say in terms of the title race. I mean, it's a what? North London derby versus Arsenal. That's always a tough game, regardless of form, etc. And I believe that one will be taking place at at the Spurs Stadium.
I need to check, but I believe that one is away at Spurs.
Indeed, indeed. As you say, I mean, if Spurs is gonna be facing all three title contenders, then
Back to back.
they will have a massive say in terms of possibly, who ends up lifting that trophy at the end of the day.
Yep.
But I mean, and they're fighting for their own life in terms of trying to break into that top four and pretty much pushing Aston Villa out, a team which they beat 4-0, Christoph. I mean, it was 0-0 at halftime, but Spurs really turned the screws at the start of the second half. And of course, Aston Villa getting a red card in between those four goals as well. The captain Muggin being sent off for what can only be described as a very atrocious tackle. Definitely a tackle deserving of a red card. And not only did he miss the rest of this game, but now having received a straight red card, he'll be suspended for the next two as well. And that could be a tremendous blow to this Aston Villa team and their top four aspirations.
Indeed. I think it's a case where quality kind of outshone Aston Villa for the most part because the first half was relatively even competition, not much to say, probably very uninteresting to the neutrals. But then the second half, we had two quick fire goals from Tottenham, only for them to receive the red cards, and that kind of really sealed their fate, so to speak. And then Spurs pushing on to get two more. Um, with being without was it McGivern could be
Muggin,
a big
Muggin,
Muggin
Muggin, yeah.
Muggin could be a big miss for Aston Villa, and it's up to Unai Emery really to kind of reshuffle and see where he stands now.
This is a massive result for Spurs, Christopher, I must say, and a very disappointing result and performance for Aston Villa, especially playing at home. I mean, this was one of those head-to-head games. It's almost like it's a top four six-pointer, So not only did you lose the game, not only did you concede four goals when the top four may come down to goal difference, but you also received a red card, and now your captain is now suspended for the next two games. So this could be a hammer blow to Aston Villa and their top four push, in all honesty. It's to Emery right now to really motivate this team back to life in a sense, and they seem pretty jaded and pretty tired. Having also had played in the midweek fixture in the Europa Conference League as well, that may have had somewhat of an impact on this team. It was an early kickoff on Sunday, and fatigue may have played a role, especially as the game wore on in that second half. And of course, playing with 10, it means extra effort, extra running, you know, being exerted. So that in itself too would have added to the sort of fatigue this team would have been faced with. But I must say, it's a splendid result for Spurs, Christoph. And for me, this result now makes Spurs one of the favorite, if not the favorite, to pretty much overtake Aston Villa in that top four. Aston Villa has been occupying that position for so long. It's almost as if they made that fourth position their own. But right now, are we seeing this team unraveling?
Um, there are still what 10 games still left to be played. I am not I'm not sold on that they've unraveled as yet, but I also said that I don't think they will have the steam to necessarily go the distance, but that's also true of Spurs who tends to fall off late in the season. So it could be a case where we're just is it could just be a blip for them at the moment. Their remaining fixtures don't look terribly difficult, so we'll have to wait and see. It's too soon to say that is the end of the road for them.
Indeed, definitely. Time will tell. Time will definitely tell when it comes to this one. And hopefully, I would love to see Aston Villa finish in the top four. The Jamaican Leon Bailey does represent Aston Villa, and it would be rather good to see Bailey playing some Champions League football come next season. And of course, just that sentimental attachment to Aston Villa, who have really hit above their weight in this season, I must say. They have been the surprise package of the EPL season thus far, and it would be a shame to see them not finish in the top four. So for me personally, I'll be rooting for Aston Villa to really just maintain and push on and tighten their grip on the top four. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, Spurs do have a game in hand. So technically, if they were to win that game in hand, they would be ahead of Aston Villa by a point, I believe. But their fixture list, as we can see, they will be facing the big three, Christoph. So, it's hard to see Spurs really coming through those three games unscathed. While, as you say, the Aston Villa fixture may be a little kinder. I do know that Aston Villa has Man City somewhere thereabouts, but,
Yeah, it's a
their
little kind
fix.
of, but they do have Man City. They do also have Arsenal to play at the Emirates. They'll play Chelsea and they will play Liverpool on the 11th of May. So maybe,
Well, I mean, lots
maybe.
to say. They may yet have, they may yet have a contribution to make in terms of determining where that EPL title lands, much like Spurs, to be honest.
Yeah, they
Spurs will
might.
face all three teams, and so too Aston Villa will face all three teams. Maybe not back to back, as is the case with Spurs, but
Maybe they'll have a
definitely
plan to beat Man City again as they did earlier this season. We'll see.
that's a possibility. That's one of the teams which really took
They did
points
also
off
they
Man City.
did also beat Arsenal. So
They did beat Arsenal at home as well. In fact, I believe they beat Arsenal and Man City back to back. Arsenal first and then Man City the subsequent game week. So, they do have the quality to cause an upset here or there, but I'm not sure if they are still playing at that level currently, Christoph, which really, I believe when they beat Man City and Spurs, they were firing on all cylinders. Confidence was high in the team, and the results and tactics were spot on. But I'm not sure if they are still at that level. As you mentioned, squad depth, fatigue, that sort of thing may be creeping in now. Back when they beat Man City, they were at the peak of their powers. But, time is a master, time will tell, but they may yet have a big say in determining where that EPL title lands. And speaking of which, Christoph, the big game was on Sunday, and it was the perfect result for Arsenal, you could say. Liverpool versus Man City, that game ending in a 1-1 draw. Christoph, talk to us about that game. How did you see it?
um it is exactly as I expected it would go. I anticipated a draw. I thought it would have been a very big game regardless because no matter who win, lose, draw, there will be shifts in the table. Draw means Arsenal go top as long as they win their match, and then either Liverpool or Man City win, then either one will go top. So a big, big result there, specifically for Arsenal. What this does is to put the title in Arsenal's hand. Arsenal now has 10 finals to play for the remainder of the season. But also, so do Liverpool, so do Man City. Also have 10 finals to play for the remainder of the city. And I believe Arsenal's next game or the game after is Man City
Mhm.
at the Etihad. So
Right,
that
right,
could be
right.
another game that shifts the top three again.
Yeah, definitely. It's a shootout. It's a sprint to the line. All teams, what, 1 point separating three teams. Arsenal pretty much leading on goal difference.
On goal
They are
difference.
now on the same number of points as Liverpool, and City is just a point back. So really, I mean, there's very little between these three teams, and with 30 points up for grabs, then anything is really possible. Any of these three teams, I believe, can still win this title at this point in time. But definitely the game on Sunday, Christoph versus Man City. I mean, Liverpool really showed some great quality, I must say. And if not for some poor finishing, the result could have been different. In addition to some poor, questionable refereeing decisions as well, Christoph. Liverpool again being at the on the end of these decisions. I mean, if you think about it, that Spurs game, if Liverpool was given their rightful goal, it Liverpool technically could have a 3 point lead at the top of the table currently. And if this penalty with this tackle by Doku and McAllister was given, we're talking something different this evening. But the referees, I believe, keep getting it wrong. I mean,
Uh,
I
where
can offer
where
no
where
explanation.
where do you praise the referee this season at the use of VAR?
I just believe inconsistency, and Liverpool seem to be the team that is feeling the inconsistency the most. I mean, I
Liverpool is that the
believe
only
these
team feeling the
these VAR decisions
inconsistency?
have now cost some really important points. At the end of the day, all these errors, I would say these are clear-cut errors. I mean, I'm not talking about a 50-50. It's a karate kick in McAllister's chest, Christoph, in the penalty area. Why wasn't a penalty given? What explanation can the referees really give to suffice or justify such a shambolic decision?
I don't know what the reasoning was for the decision not to award a penalty, but I've also said that you can't leave the result of the game up to a refereeing decision. Liverpool had ample opportunity to win the game, but it
Uh,
appears that perhaps Luis Diaz was playing for Man City.
yeah,
And Darwin
definitely. I
Nunes is
can't disagree.
also guilty of missing one or two chances.
Yeah, definitely. Diaz was a big culprit in all honesty. I
Yeah,
mean, he got, I would say, two quality opportunity to at least test the keeper. And on both occasions, he really failed to test the goalkeeper. I rather the shot be on target and the goalkeeper makes a save than pretty much you kicking the ball wide or high. And Diaz definitely he was probably Liverpool's best player on the pitch in all honesty from an attacking point of view. And he really got the better of that Man City defense on several occasions. Melting out a few defenders, creating chances, running in behind, getting one-on-one opportunity with the goalkeeper. But the only thing missing from his game was the goal, and goals win matches. And definitely, Liverpool would have felt, I believe, the more disappointed of the two teams having created the chances they created. Not to say that Man City did not have their own set of opportunity, hitting the bar twice. Foden hitting the bar, off that punch from the goalkeeper inadvertently. And then, of course, late in the game, Doku cutting onto the right foot and curling one onto the upright. But again, Christoph, in the previous show, we spoke about Doku, and he was at the center of this game for more than one reason. Missing that opportunity that hit the upright. And of course, that penalty decision which was not given. He was pretty much at the center of those two calls. And one of the criticisms we've said is that his final product is missing. And I believe that is part of the reason he did not start this game, because that final product is missing. And additionally, he is one of the major culprits on that Man City team, which loses possession quite a bit. And it was definitely the Liverpool midfield which dominated this game. I must say, the Liverpool midfield really ramped up the energy and won that midfield battle. We saw Kevin De Bruyne being hauled off after being mauled by Endo and McAllister in that midfield. And he was like a little schoolboy, and when Pep hauled him off, throwing up his arms and ranting over the decision to pull him. But definitely it was the Liverpool midfield that got the better of this Man City team. And, even though the result did not go Liverpool's way, I believe they would have taken quite a bit of confidence. And I believe they showed us what we can expect when you have a relatively fully fit Liverpool team. Salah again came off the bench, not fully fit, probably not fully healed to be playing the full 90, but you can definitely see that he too had an impact on the game. A killer ball to Diaz that only needed a finish. But again, Diaz stuffed his lines and didn't even test the keeper, but that ball came from Salah. So he definitely had a tremendous impact off the bench. And I believe the next games are games going forward, his fitness should be ramped up. The international break is also coming up, so you can definitely look for a fully firing Liverpool team come the start or after the international break. With the key players now back in contention, the Soboslais, the Salahs. Not only are you adding attack, but you're also tightening up your defense as well. So I believe this is a sign of what to come from Liverpool in terms of upping the ante, Christophe. What says you? Can Liverpool do it? Who is the favorite to really lift this league title, in your opinion, at this point in time?
Um, Liverpool probably have the kinder of the top three in terms of fixtures for the remainder of the season, but there's all still difficult fixtures. Uh, right now, I would potentially go with Liverpool because Liverpool has been doing well despite not being at full strength and with players coming back from injury and with the international break coming. I think we'll see Liverpool stepping up a couple of gears. At the moment, I don't know, and I don't think that Arsenal has any gears to go up in. I think they are currently at whatever their top gear is. Man City at the moment, to me, I think is not playing at their best. Despite getting results, they're not playing at their best. Something has disrupted the flow, the balance. I think it might be, between Kevin De Bruyne or Haaland, one or both of them has kind of disrupt the flow for Man City at the moment, which is kind of why we saw Pep pulling off De Bruyne, who couldn't keep hold of possession for any amount of time in that game. Credit must be given to players like Endo and McAllister who did really, really well. It might be a case where Pep has too many attackers at the moment and not enough, you know, players who are going to pass and progress the play forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible the balance in the attacking third is probably not right. I mean, we
Possibly.
saw Alvarez also starting in that game, and he was also substituted. So to me, it's the balance, Christoph. I believe with the personnel available at Pep's disposal, getting that balance right, selecting that best 11 is probably where the difficulty lies, and are getting that 11 to really play together. That is to me where the difficulty is. Sometimes the abundance of talent you have at your disposal, it's hard to find the right combination of players. And I think that may very well be what is happening to this Man City team at this point in time. Not to say they're not churning out results. I mean, let's remember they still managed to get a draw, and credit must be given, having been dominated by a rampant Liverpool team. They still got a draw and could have even won this game if not for the upright, or if not for more clinical finishing from the likes of Adoku. They could have still gone away from Anfield with all 3 points. But in the context of the game, it's hard to say that it was a deserving result for City. I believe chances are if a penalty wasn't awarded to the Liverpool earlier in the game, then chances are psychologically they would have gotten that second penalty being awarded. And I just think, that was the call. I don't think uh, there's any justification for not calling a foul, except from a psychological point of view, where the referee was afraid to do the right thing and make the right call. You know, that's all I can say. The ref was scared. And I think that is part of what we're not looking at when it comes to VAR. Based on how VAR is currently designed, Christoph, it's in the best interest of the referee not to make a call. As far as I see, is almost as if psychologically these referees are using VAR as that backup, that plan B. All right, if I made an error, then VAR will bail me out rather than making the correct decision from the jump. So psychologically, I think referees are more hesitant to make those big calls with the expectation to say, oh, if I missed a call, then VAR will definitely step in and let me know. So I think psychologically, the FA need to look at these decisions which are being made. But it's a rough one to take, but take it you must, and you must move on. But it was a good game, I must say, a very excellent game, especially for the neutrals, end-to-end stuff. Tactics pattern, both managers going head to head, and it was definitely a tremendous watch. For me personally, I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah, I did also enjoy watching that particular match. I mean, if only because I wanted a draw and I got a draw.
Indeed, indeed. And I mean, Arsenal earlier on Saturday did manage to get that 2-1 win over Brentford, leaving it late in that one, but they managed to get the 3 points. And, those 3 points is what they really required in order to keep the pressure on at the top of the table. And at this point in time, they are sitting at the top of the table, having now a superior goal difference over Liverpool. So, as you mentioned earlier, their destiny currently is in their own hands. But the question is, Christoph, can this young, youthful Arsenal team find the experience and the composure to take it home this year? Or will they battle it again? Is the question.
I mean, would it technically be battling at this point? Last season, we could say maybe the pressure got to them. Maybe. I
But
feel
I
it's a
mean,
case
I,
where,
I I believe this season the pressure is even more intense, wouldn't you say? With teams so closely packed together, I would say this season is a more high pressure situation when compared to last. At least last season they had some sort of points cushion, but now the cushion is really goal difference.
right, so then it's not battling. Last season
Well,
they had several there were several points clear when they lost it.
right, right.
Um
So the pressure is greater this time around then, in your estimation.
I mean, it depends. Like, it's more of, do people actually expect Arsenal to win? If there is an expectation that Arsenal
Yeah, but I mean,
should win the league,
but you have to have that expectation, Christoph.
no,
You're
no,
now
no.
10
So,
games away from a title. Come
so,
on, and
so,
you're top of
so,
the league.
uh, obviously, Arsenal fans want Arsenal to win, and at the top of the league, no, are expected. The question is, do the rest of the world, do the rest of the spectators, the fans,
Yes, man.
think
Yeah,
Arsenal
man.
can win the league?
Of course. It's anyone's title at this point in time. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
at
is
the start
definitely
of the
anyone's
season,
title.
if you had given these three teams this current position or option where 10 games to go and you are 1 point off the top of the league, would you take that starting position?
No.
Most, if not all, team will take it. So this is a prime position that you are in. You have a superior goal difference. You're leading the league, so to speak. So technically, all you have to do is to win the remainder of your games, and you will lift the title. Is as I mean, it's easy to say, but that's pretty much
It's
the
easy to say,
situation.
but it's a difficult run of fixtures coming.
Indeed, indeed. I mean, no game is a gimme in the EPL. We know this, and the team you take for granted may very well be the team that end up hurt you. So there's really no easy game. I mean, we look at these teams on paper, but in reality, no game is easy. I mean, Arsenal found that out versus Brentford. Brentford haven't been playing well all season. Battling in mid-table, Arsenal flying on all cylinders, and Arsenal still found it challenging,
I
to really come away with the results. Granted, they did manage to come away with all 3 points, which is what you want, but it's not as easy or clear cut as the position on paper would seem.
I agree. I think the upcoming international break, Arsenal should ask that none of their players go away on an international duty and have all players
Oh
remain at
no,
the club for resting,
not at all, not
rest
at
and
all.
training. I
Not
I,
at
I think that is what
oh
should
no,
happen.
not at all, not at all. FIFA commitments come first over club commitments. But
Uh,
interestingly though, Christoph, what a lot of persons are not looking at is the games in between the EPL games. Arsenal are still in the Champions League, having now lost to Porto 1-0 and now needing a result at home come Tuesday. Many persons are not looking at these games. Arsenal is still in the FA Cup, I believe, as well.
no,
So
just the
no,
Champions
Oh,
League.
oh, just the Champions
Just
League.
the
Well,
Champions
City,
League.
City and Liverpool in the FA Cup,
Still in the
and
FA Cup.
right.
And
So
still in their respective European competitions.
exactly, exactly. So a lot of persons are not looking at these games in between where squad rotation or squad depth may become a major factor. And it would also be crazy if Liverpool were to get the better of Manchester United and meet City in the next round of the FA Cup. you know, Stranger things happen. Or Arsenal was to get the better of Porto and then run into Man City in the Champions League. All these scenarios are still possible. And, if those scenarios were to take place, it will just add a bit more, ingredients to this pot, which is boiling up in terms of, lifting that EPL title come the end of the season. It would just add to the drama and the excitement for both teams to be meeting in the Champions League, or in the case of maybe a Liverpool Man City meeting in the FA Cup. And of course, Liverpool is also in the Europa League. Granted, they did dismantle Sparta Moscow in their first leg. So pretty much, Klopp could easily throw out a B or C team for the return leg of that fixture. Pretty much Liverpool has one foot in the next round. Arsenal has to go all guns blazing come Tuesday. Porto is no easy team. They are running away with the Portuguese league. They are high on confidence, having beaten Arsenal 1-0 in Portugal. They now come to London looking to finish the job. So, Arteta can't be taking any risks. He has to play his first 11, his best 11, in order to get a result in this Champions League fixture.
Or
So,
or he could play his second 11.
I don't see that happening any at all,
Or he
Christoph.
could
That
play
that
his
that would
second
be a
11.
very poor decision at this point in time. What possible logical sense would that make?
Drop out of the Champions League, focus on the league.
Not at all, Christoph. Not at
These
all.
are
Not at all. It
these are
right now, it's easier. The chances are it's easier now to win the Champions League than the EPL as it stands right now.
I mean, these are tactics we used to see managers employ in the past, dropping out of one competition in order to focus on another.
I highly doubt that is a tactic or even an avenue Arteta would even be contemplating. But in my opinion, this point in time, it's probably easier to win the Champions League than the EPL title currently. I mean, you after going, if you were to make it past Portugal, you're now in the quarterfinals. You're what, 4 games away from, well, you would play 2 legs of the quarterfinal, 2 legs of the semi. So that's four. And then the final. So you're pretty much 5 games away from lifting a title.
Mm.
So to me, it's probably easier at this point in time. 10 games in the EPL versus 5 games in the Champions League. Which one would you say is easier?
Depends.
Well, for me, definitely, I would say the Champions League. Less games to the title. You still have 10 games, 30 points in order to lift the EPL title. But I doubt Arteta will even be thinking along those lines. Those sort of thinking wouldn't even enter his mind or his thoughts. So it's all to play for. It's pretty much the bottom line. All three teams are in with a shot. In fact, I would give each team 33% chance of lifting the EPL title. Even with Man City just a point behind, because that point behind is really one game, or one bad result from any of the two teams ahead of them. A game which they draw or a game which they lose. That's it. It's pretty much a one game differential. So let's see who cracks first, Christoph. That is the question. Which team will crack first? Who will feel the pressure first and really, open up the door for the other teams to really step through? That is
Well,
indeed the
this
question.
weekend is another very big game. Is it this weekend? Hold on.
No, I
No,
believe
no, international break. And then
right.
we will see Arsenal versus Man City after the international break.
Indeed, indeed. And I'm sure Liverpool fans will definitely be hoping that one draw. That would be the best result for Liverpool, that Man City and Arsenal draw, and then they win their match. That would pretty much put them back
No,
at
I think the best result for Liverpool is for Arsenal to win that game because it
No,
it
no. Why would
no
you
no
want
no no hear
Arsenal
me
to
out, hear
win?
me out, hear 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 me out. The best result for Liverpool is for Arsenal to win. Arsenal
Right.
is leading currently on goal difference. That is a goal difference of 5.
Okay.
Arsenal versus City is not likely to be some 5-4 or anything like that.
Maybe 2
But
and a one goal
Liverpool,
differential, possibly.
but Liverpool has the potential to beat Arsenal's goal difference easily because
Hmm.
Liverpool does not have a difficult run of games compared to
Well,
Arsenal
on paper, I
on
mean,
paper. On paper,
yeah, but the last time I checked, all three teams have to play six teams in the top half of the table.
right?
So
But would you prefer City gain 1 point or lose 3?
I would rather that game draw.
Okay.
That is my call for that game. I would rather that game end in a draw and Liverpool be able to outright lead the table, not down to goal difference. Why would you want to be pretty much, if you're saying Arsenal to win, you're saying, hey, go ahead and take the lead again. No, I would rather that game draw and Liverpool go outright leaders of the table, and then pretty much you have another spread where Liverpool will be leading by 2 points, and then Man City also would be behind by 3 points. So that's really a game there on Man City, and then possibly if you want to look at it in terms of NBA terms, a half a game ahead of Arsenal. So that would be the best result. That's the result I would be hoping for as a Liverpool fan myself. That game between Man City and Arsenal really ends in a stalemate. But at the end of the day, each team has to do their job. That is pretty much what it boils down to.
Each
Which
team
team will
just has
crack
to win the
worse?
last 10.
Exactly. Just win your last 10 and let the chips fall where they may. Do your job and don't be concerned about other things which is happening around you. Do your job and the other results elsewhere will work themselves out. So that would be my message to this Liverpool team. Play your game. Don't look at the table. Approach each game as a final and let the chips lie where they may. The good thing, however, is that Klopp and a number of these Liverpool players have been in a title run before. So in terms of experience, I would say Man City will probably lead the way in terms of experience there, but then Liverpool is close behind, and then of course Arsenal being the most inexperienced of those three teams. So for that reason, I would say Arsenal may very well end up finishing in third, and it's a shootout between Liverpool and Man City. But definitely that game between Man City and Arsenal will have pivotal impact on where that EPL trophy goes this season. But any final thoughts, Christoph? We're quickly running out of time.
Oh, not this week.
Indeed, indeed. Well, again, Christoph, let me thank you for coming on board and really sharing your thoughts and your opinions. Quite an exciting week of football and, of course, of results. Viewers and subscribers, thanks again to you for the tremendous support over the period. Thanks again for logging on and continue to support us by, of course, sharing, liking, and, of course, leaving a comment if you haven't done so as yet. Let us know your thought. Let us know your opinions. Who do you think will win the EPL title this season? Leave your comments in the comment section. And of course, if you haven't subscribed as yet, hit that subscription bell. And, so you can get that notification whenever we upload some new content. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.